So hello and welcome to the June 2021 case broadcast, where we're going to speak today on the subject of the art of war in business. So it's hello from me, Patrick Twitchett.
And it's a very, very big hello from him, Melvyn Manning.
Very good, Melvyn. And this is the case broadcast, and case stands or represents connecting and supporting entrepreneurs. We hope you spotted the acronym. If you didn't, you might have to listen to that again, but it's quite simple. We run mastermind groups, monthly workshops, and this monthly broadcast, and it's unedited on video and audio, where we want to give you, the listener, some valuable input to help you on your journey. So, as I like to say, Melvyn, and I'm getting this a lot better now as we go on. So, listen out, listen up, and listen in. Melvyn, I know you need no introduction, but I would like you, as you're talking today, to give our listeners a little bit of an intro from you, between 20 to 30 seconds. And knowing you, Melvyn, I will put the stopwatch on. So please.
An intro into our subject, or into me personally?
Into you personally, because there's something else I want to talk about after you've introduced yourself. So do introduce yourself.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, hello, everybody, and all one of you who are out there in podcast land. Melvyn Manning. My business is M&M Consultancy, and I have spent the last 42 years plying my wares, is the only way I can put it, in the advertising and marketing world in London, where from running advertising studios to running agencies to running a general business consultancy, I've been involved in the business world. But predominantly my forte in when I come and talk to a potential customer and work with a customer ongoing is the advertising and marketing side of the business. The business could be product-led, the business could be led by services. It doesn't really matter, because we're going out there into the big wide world to sell whatever the proposition is. The proposition is the most important factor. I will look at that side of the client business and deliver it into the community that it needs, or I deem it or believe it and have recommended it to go into for the success of closure of sales. Over and above that, Melvyn Manning is a family man, 3 children, 4 grandchildren, a 94-year-old mum that still drives the family, many hobbies. I'm pretty much a general sport lover. At the moment, single, so, and 3 ladies out there, do give me a tinkle. I'm out there. I enjoy life. I love work. I love the people that I'm associated with. I love looking forward to being associated with more lovely people. So that's generally me.
I knew I said I had to set the stopwatch for 30 seconds.
Well, I cut a lot out, Patrick.
I mean, we pretty much got your life story there. That was quite. I think we could probably edit that down and make a complete episode of This Is Your Life.
You could do, but life is becoming led by the bloody calendar. It's driving me potty, Patrick.
Oh, now Melvyn, stop having a dig. Now this is Melvyn's little bugbear with me. How I like to organise and schedule everything. And everything in my calendar. If I'm doing admin between 6 and half 6, it's in my calendar, admin at 6 and half 6. And then if Melvyn needs to catch up, I say, okay, well, let's book you in. And then I send my favourite link to Melvyn.
If I see another Calendly link, Patrick, I've even got it from my own son. I have to make an appointment in Calendly. He sent me a link yesterday to make an appointment to see him at 3 o'clock this afternoon. But guess what? He only had 3 o'clock this afternoon. He couldn't see me any other time. And, you know, this bloody Calendly, ridiculous. It's controlling everyone's lives. What happened to just, I'm just passing by, I popped in for a cup of tea. Got no chance. Well, Calendly this and Calendly that, and it drives you raving mad. My own son, I've got to make a Calendly appointment to see.
The irony. So I need to give the listeners the background to this, because Melvyn constantly says, don't send me one of those stupid Calendly links. We'll just put it in the diary. Tell me when it is and I'll put it in the diary. And he tries to avoid Calendly links wherever he can. I don't think he's ever responded to one of my Calendly links. I had to ring him up and book it in. And he said, always don't send me one of these. But the irony of your own son sending you a Calendly link, that just makes my day. That's brilliant.
I can't wait for the next one. Not.
Poor Melvyn.
Never mind. Technology, no. I'm going to refer to it in a minute. Technology, unfortunately, is part of our new culture.
Indeed. And I'd love to talk more on that little story, Melvyn. So what I'll do, it'd be good to book it in. So I'll send you a Calendly link.
Let's do it. Just do it on an outtake. Send me a Calendly link. I can't even tear it up.
Oh, and that brings me to the other topic, that there is some Zoom or Outlook failure of linking up and syncing correctly with the way Apple or iCalendar invites go out. And we do have some come out to us where Melvyn and I are joining other people in meetings at times. And whenever that happens, I get a cancellation of the meeting from Melvyn's Hotmail address, cancelling the meeting. And all he's done is accepted the meeting and then pressed a button, and for some reason it cancels the meeting. And he manages to do it every time. So I don't know how you managed to do that, Melvyn, but I did actually see the other day that there's a button in Outlook where you can press it and send it as an iCalendar link.
Yeah.
So if you know someone who's got Apple, that's probably the way to do it, because
the other way around is probably better.
I've got a broadcast guest over in the States that we've been communicating, and she never received my calendar invite. It wasn't a Calendly, that was a calendar invite, Melvyn, from me the other day, and I would assume that she's on Apple. So how those two companies can't just get to grips with getting those things to communicate, I don't know. But if you're one of our listeners and you want to send us a message and let us know why Apple and Microsoft just aren't getting their heads around this, or whether it's just this age-old feud between Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, I don't know. But
or it might be that I'm just too old to understand the technology.
Yeah, I mean, if the CEO of Apple is listening to the broadcast, just like my message is, just get over it and just can sort it out, please.
It can't be that difficult to simplify anyway. And as you are in your other world, the simplifier, Patrick, I think you should get onto this.
Well, I like simple things, and it's definitely not simplified. So Apple definitely needs some simplification.
They do.
Indeed. So, Melvyn, please walk us through the subject this month, which is the art of war in business. So to those joining us today, just a quick breakaway from our discussion there, just to let you know that if you wanted to know more or be a part of the Case Mastermind community, all you need to do is follow the links in the notes below to our website to find out more. And I'll see you there, in case you didn't already know. And now let's go back to the discussion.
Indeed, and it's also related to a session for Case Mastermind, which will be happening in June this year, and I believe it's going to be on the 11th of June.
So that will be, Melvyn Manning will be the star attraction.
Well, this is for all you young entrepreneurs out there, business people, men and women alike. It's for those of you that think, what is there an art to business? Is there a methodology behind business? Is there a good example behind business? Where do all these trainers, where do these coaches, where do they get their insights from? How did it all begin? Well, not 100% sure that it began here, but several thousand years ago, roughly, a gentleman by the name of Sun Tzu wrote a book back in, let's say, whatever China was back in that day, and created the Art of War, which was all about military tactics and how to get around your opponent and how to gradually go through to win a war. So what I've got here, if you like, is an interpretation, only in 6 points, because it's quite a lengthy book, and it's had many different rewrites by various individuals who are coaches or who are business entrepreneurs, to try and give it some kind of form in the business environment. So what I've got here is lessons to take from Sun Tzu, from the Art of War chronicles, if you like, because everything's written in military tactics, whereby, for argument's sake, in war, then let your great object be victory, not lengthy campaigns. So that's just really all about the fact of, little and often to achieve your goal, in not so many words.
Having those objectives, isn't it, Melvyn? And
it is. I mean, I'd like to just very quickly read out the six subjects that I'd like to cover, and we'll be covering in June on that second Friday. Is the first one: capture your market without destroying it. I think that's rather important.
Yeah.
Avoid strength and attack weakness. I think that's essential.
Yes.
Maximize the power of business intelligence, which means know your subject, know what you're doing. Use speed to overcome your competition. Now, there'll be arguments for and against that, but the quicker you get into a market, the quicker you own it. That's what that's all about. Use alliances and strategic control points to your advantage. So don't make your competitor an enemy necessarily. Alliances can be very, very strong. Develop your character as a leader to maximize the potential of your employees. So in other words, you lead by example and get the best out of the people that you employ. These are the subjects that we will cover through Sun Tzu's The Art of War relative to your business.
No, that's really good, Melvyn.
So if you have any questions on that, Patrick, feel free. But what I'd then like to now do is just give a little praise here, a little opening with a couple, maybe one example or more, and then perhaps we can just very strategically go into one or two, or maybe all of the various points and give an example.
Yeah, I think on your first point there, where you quoted in war, then let your great object or objective
be victory, not lengthy campaigns.
Yeah, be victory and not lengthy campaigns. I think this comes in business as well with meetings. We can often be in meetings that are really long and drawn out, but if you've got your objectives right, actually meetings can take 10 minutes or 15 minutes if they're well prepared, well communicated out before the meeting. You're just in there making decisions, and I think that's I'm
going to give you a quote from a very famous and a worldly famous movie in my introduction, which I think it kind of says it all. So I'm just going to bring. So forgive me while I read. I am going to read because I can't remember all these little things, because this has come from a book written by Sun Tzu. It's not written by me. This is an interpretation by me and from me to you, but it's, as I say, taken from these chronicles written many centuries ago. So are you happy for me to do this now, Patrick?
Yeah, so is this your first point, or is this before
It's a little opening gambit.
Okay, yeah.
That's a little bit of background. So business has always been tough, but it has become even more difficult as competition has become more global, faster paced, and increasingly technologically dependent. So why in the 21st century, you might want to ask yourself, would it make sense to look at The Art of War written by Sun Tzu for business advice? It's a book on ancient warfare written centuries before the birth of Christ. So we're going back to when God was a boy. This is when this all began. So it's a good question, that particular question. So the answer is that The Art of War lays out a brilliant strategic philosophy that has proven itself over the millennia in all types of competitive endeavors. Of course, it's been applied by the military because it was written for the military, but sports coaches use it, many business strategists use it, and have used it again and again and again to gain a competitive advantage. That's the big trick, to gain the competitive advantage. It has even moved into popular culture. So appearing in the classic film Wall Street. Now, I don't know anyone or many people that haven't seen Wall Street with Michael Douglas, who plays a real life person called Gordon Gekko, who was a very famous and still is a fairly famous finance person in Wall Street in New York, where he quotes in the movie a very famous line, which is taken from Sun Tzu's Art of War. It says, "I don't throw darts at a board. I bet on sure things. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's lost." Now, what do you make of that, Patrick?
Good.
Well, the thing is this: do your planning and you'll win your battles. Don't do your planning and you'll lose.
Yeah.
It's quite simple. But unfortunately, the book itself is a bit of a hard read. And it is an extremely hard read. I've actually got a copy here, and it's mind-boggling, and you have to try and interpret it the best way that you can in words that maybe suit your own personality. And I think that's what many people have done over the decades. So, given it's really a series of quotations about ancient Chinese warfare. So Sun Tzu's concepts are easier to understand and more applicable to modern business and business people. So all I have done is I've kind of dissected it a little bit, and I've taken half a dozen examples, which obviously I called out earlier in headings, which will apply to everybody's business way of life and everyone's business mechanism. Basically, your businesses don't work without having encountered any of these points. So just as an example, the first one I read out was capture your market without destroying it. So Sun Tzu says, generally in war, the best policy is to take a state intact. To ruin it is inferior to this. For to win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the acme of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. What that kind of means in the English written word is too often businesses fight over market share and start price wars, only to find when it's all over that they've won what effectively is a Pyrrhic victory. They have captured the market. This is what this means. They have captured the market, but left it devoid of profits. So in other words, they bought it and they bought it and they bought it. And by buying it, they've reduced and reduced and reduced their profits. And all of a sudden, there's nothing for anybody. So the airline industry illustrates this, just as an example, as a price cutting, when they do a price cutting, has produced many money-losing airlines and terrible customer service. And we see this in the press literally week on week. I'm not saying it's a day-on-day thing, but it's something that is publicized quite regularly. So instead, to prosper, you must capture your market in a manner that leaves the industry healthy. This can be done in numerous ways, developing new ways to serve the market, or by using subtle, indirect, and low-key approaches that will not draw a competitor's attention or a response. So just as an example, Amazon, they did this when they started off book retailing. And over the years, they've obviously been capturing their market. And now they've obviously captured many more markets and are probably, if not the biggest company on the planet now. It also happened with Netflix. Netflix took over from a company called Blockbuster. Some of you may not have heard of Blockbuster, but that's how it all evolved a few decades ago. And they created a difference in their business model. It all went online. Blockbuster were in the high street, and the movie market moved online. And now we're all watching Netflix, we're all watching Amazon Fire Stick, and we're obviously watching many other aspects of movie or documentary or TV programs or games in all sorts of genre. So at the end of the day, that is what that point means. So do you kind of get the hang of this, Patrick, where this will always be going?
Yeah, and I assume that the main core reason for obliterating the market is just to focus on price and driving the price down. And
yeah, but do you also see that certain books that are now that have been written, let's say in the last 40, 50 years, have taken some of this logic from a military phenomena, i.e. Sun Tzu, and come up with their own versions. So, you know, there is something that I did earlier in our history called Red and Blue Oceans, which is exactly this point.
yes. Yeah,
which was recreated, you know, about 20 or 30 years ago, I believe that started. So interestingly, moving on to point 2, avoid strength and attack weakness. So Sun Tzu says, an army may be likened to water. For just as flowing water avoids the heights and hastens to the lowlands, so the army avoids strength and strikes weakness. So that means many times in businesses will launch direct attacks on their competitors in the hope of profit. Yet direct, unsubtle, and heads down assaults on a competitor's strengths rarely works. Instead, they drain a firm's resources and rouse the other company to fight back strongly. The recommendation perhaps here is that what one must do instead is to find the competition's weaknesses and capitalize on attacking those. So for example, instead of directly taking on a big retailer in cities, so for example, Aldi and Lidl, for argument's sake, started their businesses in out of town sites, small towns, smaller sites. And in this way, the company was able to eliminate the weaker local competitors, while simultaneously they grew stronger. Then when the bigger supermarkets later launched direct price wars against them, which we see on the TV pretty much all the time now, they've been unable to win against the Aldi and Lidl strengths with their low-cost quality model. Yeah. And the funny thing is they mention them in their adverts, which for me shows fear.
Well, it shows fear, but it's also drawing attention, because I noticed that I think it was Sainsbury's that said an advert the other day that mentioned something about Aldi prices, and I thought, you're just drawing people's attention to your competitor Aldi, and they go, oh, Aldi, oh, who's that? Oh, right, okay. And there is that element to it. I mean, and then this is, I think it's an interesting topic, because I mean, there's been some famous wars, and I would say the 2 most famous wars I can think of commercially in business are Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, and also McDonald's versus Burger King. And their adverts were really blatantly, I mean, sometimes they were so blatantly direct, I would have thought it was illegal or some sort of rule against it. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's funny you mention that, because point number 3, maximize the power of business intelligence. So I'm going to answer your question in this statement.
Okay.
So that says, know the enemy and know yourself. In 100 battles, you will never be in peril. That's what Sun Tzu says. Business intelligence is crucial to learning the competitor's strengths and weaknesses and understanding one's own capabilities. One case in point hails from the burger wars between McDonald's and Burger King. This, how ironic. The latter had decided to attack McDonald's and its renowned French fries by making it its own better and touting them to the buyers. So they were saying their fries were better at Burger King. Okay, so great minds think alike, Patrick.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, so apprised of this, McDonald's CEO, back in the day when this happened, sent an urgent letter to all the restaurants telling them that Burger King will launch a full frontal assault on one of our greatest assets, our fries. In the letter, he then laid out detailed instructions on how to ensure only high quality fries would get served. Through smart intelligence about its competitors' plans, McDonald's won that round of the war, of the fight, of the war. So there you go, Patrick.
Yeah.
An example. An example. And in my next one, number 4, I will be talking about Coca-Cola.
Oh, okay. Well, look, let's dwell a little bit on Burger King.
Yeah, please do.
McDonald's, because there was this. There are distinct differences. I think Burger King flame grill their burgers. There's certain aspects, and I mean, I think in the UK we saw it, but in a documentary, the States was where it was really happening. I mean, the blatant commercials they were running, firing at each other like that.
They were at war.
Yeah, and to me, that doesn't instill me to go and visit one of their establishments when they're poking directly at someone else like that. It's almost like the bully in the playground enticing someone to fight, and I don't know. I don't even think a marketing campaign of that scale can do you any benefit whatsoever. How do you feel about that, Melvyn?
Well, personally, I'm not an advocate of fast food, so I'm not going to be drawn into who I like and who I don't like. I mean, I use the stores when I need to, which is on occurrence. But as far as which one's better than the other and which is my preference and what have you, I don't have one. No,
it's more that strategy, regardless of the fact that it was.
Well, as an advertising agent, we back in the day would thrive on getting involved in a competitor battle, and the outsmarting of one another was quite virulent. And back in the day, I'm going back into the 80s and 90s, private detectives would be employed. All sorts of shenanigans would go on behind the scenes to try and gain an edge, to try and find a fault, to try and get some dirt, call it what you like, or to try and get a recipe even. People were hired to go and raid certain industrial sites to see if they can get a recipe of a certain product. So it was quite rife then. It's become that again to some extent now with what you mentioned earlier with Tesco's and Sainsbury's, just to name 2 that I'm aware of, that for some reason or another, particularly in Tesco's case, refer to their competitor rather than try to do something that's different to their competitor or give a better value point of difference. Now, it just seems to me that in losing the plot, in my opinion, but I've only got my, let's say, generational opinion now, because it seems that millennials and others think differently to people of my generation, or allegedly to my generation anyway. People have lost the respect that they should really have for one another and fight clean and clearly and with the public's best interest at heart.
Yeah, there's no chivalry.
None whatsoever. And the pride's gone out the window.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, to me, that devalues the brand. That sends the message that the brand is some snidey, sniping, backstabbing type establishment, which it may well not be that, but it's the message that they've projected out to the audience when they attack in that way. I mean, in reference to the supermarket wars and these price wars, I mean, it's the battle to the bottom, isn't it? It's the fight to the bottom.
It's kind of going that way, and the German infiltrators in this instance, who are Aldi and Lidl, have absolutely maximized on their strengths ongoing. And I purchase at any supermarket. I don't have allegiances or loyalties. Sometimes the price points matter, sometimes they don't. But with all these loyalty cards and all this other nonsense where discounts can be gained, my view is give the discount up front. We don't need all this expense. We don't need all this expenditure on loyalty nonsense. You don't need that at a football club. If you support a football club, you pretty much support them for life. You don't need a loyalty card. What you need is, belief and, the know, like, and trust aspect in place, and keep that strong no matter how the team's performing.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point, Melvyn. And I think, because to me, a loyalty card is almost, I call it customer cuddles. It's something, it's warm, and it's saying, we appreciate you being loyal to us. So I get the principle of them. The fact that, I mean, Tesco used to quadruple their club card points. I don't think they do anymore. They've toned that down a bit, but they would give you, so if you had £10 worth of club card points, I think it used to be able to buy you £40 worth of days out vouchers. So I appreciated that, and that did win my loyalty to a degree. And I think in grocery, if you can get loyalty and keep people coming to the same outlet, but again, you're quite right. If it's all going to be focused on price, people are going to look at price, and one day they might just go, I'll tell you what, let's pop into Aldi. And as soon as they walk around and get a load of shopping and then go, hang on, this is only £35. This would have cost me about 60 quid in Tesco. They've lost them because they've
that's the cost of the loyalty card. That's the cost of the staff that run the loyalty card. That's the cost of the production of a loyalty card. That's the cost of the software that takes in all the data in order to make the loyalty card work. Get rid of all that. Bring the prices down. Get people through that door knowing that they're actually getting the real price and not all the ridiculously inflated.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's probably arguments for and against loyalty cards. I get the idea that Tesco could do targeted marketing based on their club cards, etc.
I'm not pretending any secrets here, Patrick, but logic tells me that, if we're doing jobs for the boys, that's what that is. It's jobs for the boys. We create a department. It will cost us X millions of pounds a year to run it, or several hundred grand a year to run it, whatever it might be. Put that back in the business. Don't employ those people. Let's not have all that crap. In America, they've lived their life on coupons given by manufacturers or in partnership with the retailer. We lost the plot on that many, many years ago. Today, the Americans are still not living on, but still working with their coupon mentality.
Well, and you feel that we should evolve and move on from that?
I think we should go full circle and look back, take note of our experience, take note of the history, and move away from where we are now, or refine it, whichever the case may be. It's too much for people. Air miles. I got offered air miles, Patrick. I haven't used an air mile ever in my whole lifetime because I never remember them. I booked my holidays and I booked my trips, whichever, and then I think, oh God, I could have put some air miles on that. It's not priority.
Well, no, and I think air miles work wonderfully in America because in America, they use aircraft almost like taxis, don't they? And a lot more people travel, across internally within the country, and I think that's where it worked fantastically. And the UK, that doesn't really happen as much.
These are when we get involved in our meeting in June. I'll be taking the visitors, the attendees, into breakout rooms, and we'll be looking at some of these points, and we'll be looking at drawing from these individuals' lists and opinions, just to see whether they feel similar to us, with or without seeing this podcast or listening to this podcast. Because at the end of the day, these are all valid points, and there's never necessarily a right or wrong answer, as things often work out. But circumstantially, or for the best interests of the masses, there are usually some very good ones that are more often than not missed.
Yes.
That'd be an interesting exercise. So if you don't mind me moving on to point 5.
No, we haven't done point 4 yet.
Have I not done point 4? Patrick.
No, I bamboozled you on point 3, and
you threw me. My God. Well, that was good selling that. I like that. That was good tactics, Sun Tzu. So, number 4, use speed to overcome your competition. Now, a frowned upon word to some degree, but have a listen to this. Speed is the essence of war. Take advantage of the enemy's unpreparedness, travel by unexpected routes, and strike him where he has taken no precautions. Now that's Sun Tzu. So in business, as in war, speed is essential. The changes companies face, whether social, technological, political, or economic, are only accelerating.
Yeah.
Which is technology obviously having its way and taking over to some extent. But obviously there's still humans pushing buttons somewhere. If a firm cannot move rapidly to respond to market changes, it will not survive, which is a very, very true statement. Speed is instrumental in being the first to market, which is obviously where the big boys have become big, enabling a company to take advantage of fleeting opportunities and keeping the competition off balance. So companies such as Coca-Cola, as you referred to earlier, are continually bringing new products to market and finding new ways to deliver choice and convenience to customers. So for argument's sake, they'll bring out a new flavor, or they'll bring out a new type of way of dispensing their product. And the novelty is often in the dispenser. You'll have a Coca-Cola fridge, or you'll have a Coca-Cola this, or you'll have a Coca-Cola that. And obviously it's the brand versus, or not versus, but working with their product structure. And that is very clubby, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, Coca-Cola is a classic example. I mean, I always refer back to it. Everybody probably knows now, but I grew up thinking Father Christmas wore a red jacket with white fur around the edge.
Yeah.
And then, it was a lot later in life when I actually realised that the original Santa Claus wore a green outfit, but Coca-Cola decided to use a red outfit with
like a tunic,
with the white fluffy lining, because it was their brand. And I think it was at that time because they have the Coca-Cola lorry at Christmas goes around and gives away free Coke as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen it for some time, but they used to, yes.
Yeah, no, I think they still do it.
Do they?
I don't know about with lockdown, but yeah, a couple of years ago, I think it came to Southend or something. Everyone was talking about it, the Coca-Cola is coming or something. And, it's really clever marketing. If Pepsi would have got there first, then Santa Claus would have been blue and red or whatever it would have been.
Yeah. You're lucky Fanta didn't get there.
An orange. Well, Donald Trump could have been Father Christmas, couldn't he? An orange Father Christmas.
But that's the power of our advertising and marketing. That is the power of it. When companies do endorsements into movie structures, that is strategic placement. So whether it's Aston Martin cars or Coca-Cola or Wilkinson or whoever it might be, you know, with the Blade with James Bond, you know, who knows? You just don't understand the value of what that means to the brand and to the product.
Yeah, and I think speed is something that I've been looking at very recently, because you know we're talking now where Clubhouse has appeared as a social media platform,
Yeah.
and
Only
it's
on invitation only.
pardon.
On invitation only.
Well, it's invitation only, but what I'm talking about the speed, because yeah, they've made it exclusive. But what they've done, they've launched it. It's still in its what do they call it? A beta phase, don't they? And that's why they're making it exclusive, because they're trying to modify it. They haven't perfected it, and then released it. No, it's been released, and then they've allowed a small audience in, and as they've been perfecting it, they've increased the size of the audience before a final rollout. I mean, I despise the fact that it's exclusive to Apple, and I've aired my opinion on that quite vehemently.
There's a method in their madness.
Look, there is, and I know that perhaps the Apple operating system works better with it, etc. But I was quite irritated by that exclusivity. But I think it's been quick, and it's attracted a huge amount of attention.
Interest.
And now,
and why is there interest, Patrick?
Oh, the exclusivity, isn't it?
The unknown. Why is it so exclusive?
Yeah, FOMO, fear of missing out. It's all of that. And now Twitter is releasing some similar type of aspect to its platform. Instagram is following up. So it's now all this. It's exactly right. The speed. It's who's going to now come in.
Who's going to be first?
Yeah. It's. But even the fact that one of them is second, they're reacting quickly. You know, LinkedIn might bring something out. You know what LinkedIn's like. LinkedIn will bring something out in 10 years' time, and then go, we got a thing similar to Clubhouse. You know,
this kind of segues us onto point 5 of Sun Tzu in my presentation. The use of alliances and strategic control points to your advantage is another way to go, where you don't have to be necessarily first, and you can possibly even work with others to achieve your goal. So,
yes,
Sun Tzu says, therefore, those skilled in war bring the enemy to the field of battle and are not brought there by him.
So it's drawing the enemy into the field of battle.
Yeah. So, and in this interpretation, so by forming alliances with other companies, one can acquire new capabilities and access new markets.
Yes. Even
allying with competitors, and that's obviously cooperation, whichever the way you want to look at it, can be smart strategy as well.
Yes.
Now, in this instance, I can call on the formation of the Premier League as an English example. That came out of clubs wanting better, wanting more, wanting to, let's say, improve their station, create greater income. That's how the Premiership evolved from a financial point of view, but obviously from a quality point of view, certain clubs felt that they weren't getting the benefit of the best, and they wanted to be more elitist and more of an elite platform. So the Premier League was formed, and working with the Football League, which is, you know, the leagues thereafter working down, formulated a way of working. And, you know, the tables obviously proved themselves where people are going up and down all the time. But what then happened was an alliance with companies like Sky and various other promoters and sponsors, where an income stream was created for the teams, for the pleasure of showing their matches on a regular basis live on TV, where all of a sudden beyond £100 million per club was created in order to support this cause.
Yeah.
lots of merchandising thereafter, where the bottom line of that is, this created arguably the strongest football business in the world, delivering some of the highest revenues from TV rights and merchandising, and creating some of the most powerful clubs on the planet, because they weren't that before all this.
No, that's right. I mean, the classic tale is that of Manchester United. You can go anywhere, well, in the country and in the world now, and someone there will be a Manchester United fan. I think they've fallen from favour a bit recently since the departure of Alex Ferguson, but they were able to afford these better players and better managers because the business was being marketed. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was so commercial, and everybody wanted to be part of that because all the eyes were on Manchester United at one time, and they were, at one point they were invincible. Not so invincible now, though.
Well, that might well as be, but the pundits around the globe, those who are in the know, those who are, let's say, looking to strive to whichever is their goal, will probably, I won't say everybody, but possibly the majority might agree that it's probably the strongest football league on the planet, the UK one.
Yeah.
And I'm suggesting that, for argument's sake, the FA Cup as an entity, as a commodity, is most likely one of the most watched broadcasts on the planet in that industry.
That's right. And I mean,
But as a commodity, it's commercially huge.
That's right. And I know, we talk to people about who their telephone provider is, especially residentially. It's all based around the fact whether they like BT Sport or Sky Sport, and Virgin have got an offering as well. And it really, their choice centres around that because.
Yeah, but don't forget the poor BBC are still trying to be in there.
Well, yeah, but the BBC is what it is. I mean, that is, they've got their element, but I mean, they're totally standalone. This BBC TV license thing's a bit nonsense, really, in the modern age. But hey ho, we still seem to be going down those lines. But I think, you mentioned there about sort of product placement a little earlier, and this is massive in films now. You see the famous one was Daniel Craig as James Bond when he was going down the pan, which to me was a bit strange for the marketing. When he was going down the pan, he was drinking Heineken, and he was shown drinking a bottle of Heineken, and actually it was when he was hitting rock bottom as James Bond. And it was like, actually, is that the right message you want to send to your audience? But it was still product placement.
Yeah, but
in the film,
he's most famous for his watches. It's if it's not an Omega, it's a Rolex.
Yeah, and the product placement. Netflix is using it. People are flipping up laptops, and it's got that Apple on it, and it's clearly in the shot on the screen, so people can see it. But Netflix is, a very affordable platform, so I watch that and I say, that doesn't affect me because they're using that to pay for their productions, to give me entertainment, and I have to pay a reduced fee to watch it. If they didn't do product placement, they'd probably have to charge me £25 a month rather than the £6 or the £9 or whatever we pay. So I understand that. And a classic example, which I know you and I both enjoyed this film, Melvyn, was Coming to America 2, which has just recently come out.
Yeah.
And I do like aspects of that film that make me laugh, because obviously the guy there is McDowell's, the burger show.
Taking on McDonald's.
Yeah, McDowell's. And he said, we've got the Big Mick burger. and you know that does make me laugh, you know, and all the things he was coming out with. But I noticed that I've seen that because that has been produced by I think that's an Amazon production, isn't it? An Amazon
I
Prime
believe
production.
it is. Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And but on the table when they're talking about all that, if you look, they have got a pile of drinks. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And what was the name of the drink, Melvyn?
Don't remember.
Pepsi.
I remember all the drinks being there.
It was Pepsi. They
Was
were
it a
all
Pepsi brand? Was it?
piled up on the table in front of them in this shop. And me being me, and Lorraine must get fed up with me, I'm always commentating on commercials, how good they are and how bad they are. And when I saw that, I was like, can you see, look at that, look at all the Pepsi things there. I wonder how much revenue they got, how much income they got from Pepsi to put that on that film, and then how much revenue Pepsi have got from seeing that on that screen. And it's an alliance. It's a perfectly legal alliance between two companies and saying, look, I'm producing a film here. I'm making loads of money making this film. I want a piece of the action. I want some money in from you, but you are going to get so much more off the back of it.
Yeah.
It all works. It's brilliant. You know, fantastic business. And that's a strategy.
They've all done it. Google have just recently been involved with a film with, I think, Matthew McConaughey about two older rookies that go back in, let's say, they get down on their luck and they're taken into Google to train to see whether they are good enough to work as a Google employee. And
that was Vince Vaughn.
That's it. Vince Vaughn was in it, yeah.
And Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson, not Matthew McConaughey. Owen Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just googling it now. That was The Internship. Yeah, that was
the interns.
That was
the
a
interns.
brilliant film. I enjoyed that. And
the thing is that it was all about Google.
Yeah, it was 100%.
So who's the winner?
Absolutely.
That aside, and moving on, another point, 4.5 for the, let's say, the more millennial type of listener and viewer. Controlling strategic positions is another way to compete successfully. Owning critical patents, seats on standards boards, a powerful brand, or the direct relationship with the customer all can lead to gaining the lion's share of the industry profits. One need only look at Google in web search or Apple in the smartphone and tablet markets to see how holding a strategic stronghold can pay off. Now, that's very clear words and a clear understanding of how alliances and strategic control points can be used to an advantage. And before that, you would have had Microsoft. But obviously that was some time ago, but Microsoft are an industry standard now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Microsoft, I mean, they've made some mistakes along the way. I mean, their link with Nokia totally destroyed Nokia, didn't it? When they had the Nokia.
It didn't do them much good, no.
I mean, it was a gamble. It was a new concept. It just didn't take off. You got to swipe the screen all the time, swipe and swipe and swipe, and it unfortunately it went really south for them, unfortunately. But Google, the principle of Google that you have a web browser that's completely free, you have an email address that's completely free, a calendar that's completely free, a map, a Google Keep, what you can do notes on, Google Drive to store your data on. They're all free, but then they reach certain capacity where you may wish to monetize them. What an absolutely brilliant strategic plan that here you go, you can have this, it's nothing. And a lot of marketing now is going that way, isn't it, Melvyn? Everyone now I see out on social media that are doing really successfully are saying, yes, I've got seminars and I've got these things, but actually, before we do all of that, I've got a free download for you. All you need to give me is your email address, nothing else. I will send you my free information, my free package, and then they'll then lead in and bleed in with all these other things and let you monetize at your choice. I think it's an absolutely brilliant marketing strategy. So strategic.
Yeah. So my last point for this exercise is develop your character as a leader to maximize the potential of your employees.
And this is number 6, isn't it, Melvyn?
This is the last one of my points, number 6. So Sun Tzu says, when one treats people with benevolence, justice, and righteousness, and reposes confidence in them, the army will be united in mind, and all will be happy to serve their leaders, which basically is about being about leading from the front, but being respected, all of that stuff.
Yeah, being fair.
It's not that, I mean, look, let me read this out to you. For a leader to successfully execute Sun Tzu's strategic philosophy requires not just intelligence, character is critical as well.
Yes.
So a bit like, how can I put this? In May Just Gone, we have just heard from a gentleman by the name of David Roylance, who has done his mastermind on his rule of 1, 2, and 3, where you've got these individuals that as a 1, you're insular, as a 3, you're in people's faces, and as a 2, you're that calming influence.
Oh, that's right.
You're that feet on the ground, grounded person.
Yeah.
This is what this is.
Yes.
So moving on, one cannot align the team on the right path and deliver real value to customers long term without having sufficient character, a sense of self-awareness, and an understanding and empathy for others. Kind of comes together a little bit now.
Well, definitely, it's that character that you can build trust in, someone who's trustworthy and keeps their word. And as I always say, respect is earned and not commanded. Yeah,
so for want of a simple expression, it's emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So we know from studying great leaders in history, the people we work with every day, and the science of leadership. It is so I'm now going to give you, if you like, my own opinion, that if a business owner, a director, an entrepreneur follows these 6 principles that we've just run through, there are stronger chances of being successful.
Definitely.
Any thoughts on that?
People need a leader. They need a leader they can trust and look up to, don't they?
For me, in summary, and something for everyone to remember, winning the business battles of the future can be helped by using the wisdom of the past. Sun Tzu, The Art of War, but interpreted for business.
Excellent, Melvyn. No, that's really good. And I did enjoy you saying that Sun Tzu says.
I'm not taking any credit for any of this. This is not me. I'm just introducing it to those that are not so aware of, may have heard of it, but don't have the awareness of Sun Tzu, because I think it's right that we acknowledge, if we are out there looking at people's situations or answering questions given to us because of certain instances that other people are experiencing, that we can actually refer to the fact that several thousand years ago, or many hundreds of centuries ago, this man, this person, created something from a military strategy kind of practice, and to this day, those thoughts, those kindnesses, those, you know, if there's anything devious in there to bring good, has taken a journey of all those centuries to come to now, and we're still using the same methods. Nobody really has claimed to being unique.
No.
All we've done is interpret over the centuries, over and over again. It's a bit like a Bible to some extent, and it's pure interpretation.
Yeah.
If we want it to be good, it's good. If we want it to be bad, we can interpret it the other way as well.
And yeah, you know, I listened to the book rather than read the book. And I mean, it is quite a deep book, but you can just see through the whole book, and he speaks about generals and captains and how you've got to have those different levels of leadership. And you can just tie it all straight to business. It's very.
But how do you feel on that line? Winning the business battles of the future can be helped by using the wisdom of the past.
Absolutely, and you know, we can never fully go forward without first looking back. You know, we can all look back to history and learn lessons from where we were to take us where we're going. And you know, this book's just stood the test of time, hasn't it? It's just incredibly well.
I'm a fan. And remember, Patrick, I'm not the world's best reader. I don't read, you know, like many people do, book after book after book. I strategically read, you know, utilizing these terms. I strategically read to what I believe suits me. But when I read this one, it really opened my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And when you read the comments of others who've read it, and you've discussed it with other people that have gone through it, and you take these points into consideration, which, you know, any, let's say, any sensible person can draw from it, the application of them and the examples given from the application of them, it's, you know, it's all in front of our eyes.
It is definitely. So very well summed up there, I think, Melvyn. So if you have, do you have any further points to add, or are we moving on now from our subject?
This to me, I think, says it all. I do hope that anyone participating in the meeting in June will gain benefit from elaborating on this. I do feel that there is structure behind it, and I think it will help anybody, whether it be a service or whether they have a product, take their dreams to where they wish to go.
Yes.
So I will look forward to running through this again in June, but discussing it in detail with those present.
Absolutely. And anyone wishing to join us in June can join the case workshop. They can just go to our website, which is casemastermind.co.uk. Can book on to our workshops through there. And that will be Friday, the 11th of June. So we'd look forward to seeing as many of you there as can make it. So that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and bring your friends and family, because these points are there for debating.
Indeed, and debate we do. In our workshops, we have breakout sessions where we all brainstorm particular ideas. And I think, you know, in those, I don't know how you find it, Melvyn, but I know when I'm in a brainstorming group like that, the level of thoughts that are being exchanged around the room just raise my level of thinking so much higher, and I come out with things that I didn't even know I had there on the inside. So
I mean, my involvement is to permanently be a sponge. You can never stop learning. There's always something going to come out the woodwork where you think, do you know what? It was there for me to see and I never caught it, but I've got it now. And you can never get enough of learning.
Yes, definitely. And Melvyn, as we know, each month, if people leave feedback with a tagline, a hashtag of it, or just putting the word in very creatively or secretively into a review or post about the case broadcast, what is the word they can or phrase they can use this month?
It's a good question, that, Patrick. There are so many that I have that come to mind on this particular subject.
It might not be Sun Tzu says, it might be more like...
Well, I don't want it to be Sun Tzu says, but I might like it to be something like winning the business battles.
Oh, winning the business battles. Very good. So those listening, if you want to put that into your feedback about our case broadcast this month, you stand a chance of winning a prize. And we'd love to hear from you and engage with you more. So moving on from that, does move to a section of the battle of words between
Indeed.
and I.
Yes. I gave you a very humbly nice one on our last occasion.
Well, you gave us a word indeed, Melvyn, last month, in the month of May. And what was that word? Please refresh our memory.
I'm going to refresh you. The word is a rampallion, which is something that occasionally you could be.
Oh,
but in the nicest sense.
So you're going to say something regarding to me that's actually going to be quite nice.
It's bordering on nice. It's kind of a very pleasant kind of thing that was always said of the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther?
Yeah, that he was a very pleasant guy back in the day in the movies, but he was a bit of a scoundrel. And that's what rampallion is.
Okay. Okay, so a bit of a ruffian or a scoundrel.
Scoundrel, yes. A bit like Peter Niven type. If you're as old as me, you might know who that is.
Oh, what, David Niven?
Sorry, Peter Niven. David Niven.
Oh, yes. David Niven. Or as the... Who
cut that Peter bit out. Definitely David Niven.
Yeah, and who was the other guy who played the Pink Panther? Oh, goodness. Oh, the name escapes me now. I'm going to have to Google that while we're...
David Niven was the earliest Pink Panther.
Oh, okay. No, it was the other guy, a very well-known actor. I know it was later played by Steve Martin, wasn't it? But in the
but he was playing another thing, the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, with Michael Caine.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying to think who that actor was. It will come to me in a minute. I'll.
Okay. But nevertheless,
indeed,
a backhanded compliment.
Yes. Okay, a backhanded compliment. Okay, I suppose I'll take that one on the chin. And if our listeners can remember who I'm trying to refer to, a well-known English actor who I believe was in the Battle of Britain as well. I'm just trying to think what his name was. You can definitely message us and contact us and tell us who that is. Well,
that was only on a little while ago on TV, wasn't it? It's been on several times.
Yeah. Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer. Oh, right.
Christopher Plummer.
I thought he was in the Sound of Music.
He was, but he wasn't the Big Panther in the Sound of Music. It was Baron von Richtenstein or something? I don't know.
The Von Trapp family.
Yeah, whatever it was. And he again is of a similar ilk to Mr. Niven, isn't he, in that sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But there were many good actors in the Battle of Britain.
Okay, well, it's nice to know you consider me a scoundrel, Melvyn.
Yes.
Thank you for that compliment. You seem to call it a compliment. Okay. So I've got to come back with another word.
What have you got? What have you got? Anything good?
Yes, it's... Now, you see, I would pronounce this word consinuous, but it's... Oh, no, but it's consinus.
Consinus.
Yeah, not incontinent.
Oh.
Consinus.
Can't wait to find out what that means.
Indeed, Melvyn, indeed. And all will be revealed.
Yes, I will be a fly on the wall when that happens.
That the merry month of July.
Yes.
We'll see.
Can't wait.
Indeed, you'll wait with eager anticipation.
I do.
If there's nothing else to add, then it's just left to our farewell, Melvyn.
Indeed.
So
yes, let's do it.
For me, it's goodbye from me.
And it's an incredibly goodbye from him.
Thank you. Goodbye. So, folks, thank you for joining us on our broadcast. This has been brought to you by Case Mastermind, a brainstorming mastermind group that you, the listener, can be a part of. Just follow the links in the notes attached to our website and Eventbrite pages to see what events you can join us at. If you enjoy our content, please share and review. One of the talented people who leave us a great review with that month's watchword that's given out on our monthly broadcast will be selected for a prize. If you would like to hear more, please hit the subscribe button so you can hear more from the Case Mastermind team. So remember, folks, listen out, listen up, and listen in. See you soon.